Okay.
The time is 12:16. We are back on the record.
And you're going to pick me up from the freeze, please?
Yes, 1 second, please.
Okay, and everyone can hear me okay? All right.
Yes.
The last sentence you said was, well, according to Orchard 1091, it wasn't on time. So they then said that and then that's when you said, I just froze up on the screen.
All right. Just 1 second here. Okay. So, Val, picking it up from there, if that's okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. So, Jim Martin said that he was going to give us grace. Then I got a call that the lawyer said no grace and that they were not going to give us the second $100,000 advance because we had missed the timeline. So I called Jim about that. I was very disgruntled, and Jim said, it's out of my hands, Leon, you can deal with the attorneys. So at that point, Val, I started talking to the attorneys, and I also spoke with Danny Green, who was one of the heads of Orchard. And basically, I said to Danny, look, Danny, we were supposed to have been given this extra day or two. We did everything that we were supposed to do, and I want the other $100,000 that the team deserves. And he then said to me that he had spoken to his legal team, and his legal team was opposed to it and said that they did not have to do it following the letter of the contract. I then responded to him, you know, your legal team has not made you the type of money that we are making for you. And usually a legal team would take advice from whoever they're working for. So Danny, we made you a lot of money with Above Majestic. We're going to make you a lot of money with Cosmic Secret. I want this $100,000. If you do not give it to us, then we will never work for you again. So then he said, wait a minute, you're telling me that you will not work with Orchard 1091 again? I said, no, because you're not dealing with integrity here. You're dealing with a little, you're nitpicking, following your lawyers, and you got a cash cow here with us. We can do lots of things in the future together, but I won't do anything else with you if you don't give us this $100,000. So then he said, Val, you mean to me that you'll go to other companies, or you mean to me that you'll badmouth us? I said, Danny, I never said anything about badmouthing you. We'll simply do business with other people because you drove us away. You're the one forcing us to go with other companies. So long story short, finally he came to his better senses and he gave us the second $100,000. Now, when we got that second $100,000, Val, everybody was very happy. We were on a team conference. Corey was very happy and even said to the rest of the team, none of this would have happened if Leon hadn't had the balls to stand up to Danny Green and make a strong stance. So Corey was very happy. So I did not screw up any contract with Orchard. To the contrary, I got the team much needed money as far as advances, and I got a project done for us that would not have been done if we had waited for the following year. Now, Val, if it's okay with you, this might be a good point of cleaning up the cross-collateralization point that came up with Orchard between AM and Cosmic.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So in trying to clean that up, I have a letter here that I wrote to Jim Martin on Monday, February 3rd, 2020. And it says, and by the way, Val, I sent this to you, so you'll have it in your records.
In the
But
chat,
anyway, it says, pardon me?
The production,
through the chat.
How was it sent?
the production last night.
Lyndon's saying in the production last night.
Okay, so we actually have that. Hold on.
This is my letter to Jim Martin.
What Bates number is it on?
Now, I don't know that.
Yeah, they've got it all. We can print it out with base numbers so we can find it for her if she wants.
Well, I mean, hold on, because it's actually our videographer has the, I'm just trying to find the, so Caleb, it's the client docs 8491-8645.
Okay.
And as soon as council gives us the Bates number.
Would you like me to go ahead and screen share it?
Yes, please, as soon as we get the Bates number. Mr. Kennedy, you're the first person I've ever allowed do this for the record. I guarantee you, Mr. Webb's never let anybody bring their own exhibit to a deposition.
I just wanted to come in thoroughly prepared.
Absolutely.
I have it in the one document, the one PDF that's on page 2.
Mr. Kennedy, does it have a Bates? Do you know what I'm talking about by a Bates number? On the bottom right-hand corner, it'll say young blood and then 4 numbers.
So this is Lennon Webb. I'm happy to interject. What the client has are the docs before they were Bates numbered. So we numbered them and sent them over to you. Like, for example, when you produce documents to us, you didn't put Bates numbers on it. We went ahead and put Bates numbers on them. So the ones we gave you a link to, if you click on that link, the documents will have a description and numbers. Unfortunately, I don't have a printout of those, so I do not know.
You want me to email it to you?
Which I have them all here, but we haven't gone to the length of printing them out to find them.
I have the exact one. If you want to email it to you.
I don't know.
Do you have the link on it?
I don't know who's talking. I can only see 4. I don't know what is going on. Oh, I know. Was somebody talking without a screen on? It was only had my video. Who was that was talking? Sorry.
Sure.
It's Maureen. I just don't have,
What's the number on the bottom of the page?
well, okay.
Is that Mr. Webb? I don't know who's talking.
Yeah, this is Lennon Webb.
Okay, so you're saying when he gave you the documents, they were Bates numbers, and then you guys put the documents on. But so what I can do a control find.
It should say Kennedy and then a number right after it. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and send you the separate document. I don't know what else to do. So I'm not in the docket like you are.
Okay. Yeah, because here's all of the documents we produced to them, and we've numbered them all.
Okay, do we want to go off the record while we go for this, or we can continue with the,
All right, come back to this line of questioning. I'll get a printout for you.
okay, or just the Bates number, that's because we've got the videographer has the entire document.
Yeah.
We just need the Bates, and he can share it. Okay,
Did you say you wanted to go off record for this?
I think we're gonna continue. Right,
Let's just go on to the next line of questioning. We'll print everything out that we produced to you. That way we can try to find things with the numbers.
okay, perfect, thanks.
Or Val, to save time, do you want me to just read it, or what would you prefer?
Let's come back to it, because I don't know, I mean, we got 100 and how many? 150 pages produced to us, over 150 pages produced to us last night. So it would take forever to find it out, but so let's just keep on going. And then we'll come back, because there are some documents I want to look at out of that production, so we'll just come back to that whenever we get to that, 'cause I haven't seen either. Can you read us, just read a couple words? What are the first few words?
Okay, it says, Monday, February 3rd. Hi, Jim, just wanted to verify this information to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. The payment we received from 1091 of $50,797 was for the 12 days of sales from November 19th through the 31st. This smaller payment figure of only 50,000 plus was because of two variables. It only reflects the first 12 days of sales and not a whole month. The other variable was that there was almost a $260,000 advance from 1091 that was deducted from this first payment. And I broke it down, Val. A $200,000 advance that we are all aware of, and a $60,000 spent in marketing that needed to be recouped. Now here's where we get into the cross-collateralization. Because 1091's dashboard is still down, Lev will be providing the raw data reports for both AM and Cosmic Secret to us via email. This will allow us to reconcile the cross-collateralization of the two films and the payments received. Next, B. Since August, all of the payments for AM were absorbed into paying off the $260,000 owed to 1091 via the cross-collateralization of the two films. Is that correct? C. The former AM payments will be reflected on the raw data reports, so the balances owed to that account can be paid out correctly. D. Jim, as you know, we have different percentage participants in AM versus the participants in Cosmic Secret. Thus, the separation and accounting for the different streams of money must be precise. If not, it leads into an accounting nightmare. We certainly need Orchard's accounting to help in showing the different streams of income generated from both docs. The raw data report for AM will include all sales numbers from August to date. This should also include the Hulu licensing payment. Is this articulated understanding correct, Jim? And then he wrote back the next day, this is correct, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I've gone through, it must not be a searchable document. I'm not finding that on there, but as soon as they.
85, there's two numbers. It's 8571 through 8573. It's also on 8550. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay, and this was just produced to us yesterday?
Correct. But I did you the extra favor of numbering the pages. So we can talk like this. Because I'm a nice guy. Even though you don't think so.
I'm sorry?
When you produce docs, you didn't even number them. So
We've,
but one step
everything
ahead.
we're numbered. They all have base numbers on them.
Not the last deposition.
I have the document pulled up to Youngblood 8571. If you'd like me to share.
Yes, please.
All right. Give me one moment. And if you'd like, you can take over control.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I see it. Thank you. And I have it, right.
Okay. Okay, so this is from Jim Martin at 1091.
Well, this was from me, Val, and then Jim answered, if you see at the top there, hi, Leon, this is correct. Thank you, Jim. He's addressing what I said there in the correspondence.
Okay, Fabulous from you to Jim on February 3rd, 2020. 8:30. Just wanted to verify this information, make sure that I'm understanding it correctly. Payment we received. Smaller payment figure only. So 2 variables. Okay, this is actually, we'll look at another document here in a little bit that I think speaks to the same thing. Okay. Was that the only? Caleb, is there any way to go to the next document? Are these, is it one document, 8571 to 8573?
Yeah, it'll just be the next couple pages and then the
Okay.
other number he gave.
Okay, and do I click on the next one on
Yep.
the? Oh, perfect, got it. Okay, thank you.
Can you make this bigger or I can see it?
He's controlling the screen. You have to ask him to make it bigger.
Okay, so this 6B was what was pulled out at my client's deposition. And then this is, I don't know. Is this all? Okay. Okay, so the 1091 dashboard, when they're talking about 1091's dashboard is still down. Had you looked at 1091's dashboard before, Mr. Kennedy?
From time to time, but many times the dashboard was down, and I'll say this in a polite way, Val. Distribution companies, one always has to be aware of distribution companies. As far as I'm concerned, they always take more than they should, and they have a variety of ways of doing it. So the dashboard was down quite a bit, but what I wanted to point out in this was the fact that, number one, I addressed it with Jim. I asked Jim to correct it. I pointed out to Jim that it could cause an accounting nightmare. And basically, he said that what I had articulated was correct. And then later he told me on the phone that they would correct it as soon as possible. The other point that I would like to make to you, Val, is that, as I said before, I collected the money that was sent from Orchard 1091. I had no authority in how a distribution company collects their money or makes a payout. For example, there are different ancillaries that play, let's say in this case, above Majestic. So you collect from Vimeo, you collect from iTunes, you collect from Apple or whoever. So they collect the money in the way they choose to collect, and then they pay us in the way that they choose. No production company can dictate to a distribution company how they're going to do what they're doing. So those are the points that I want to make. I think Corey accused me and Roger of doing this on purpose. There was no way that we possibly could have done this on purpose. It was not in our jurisdiction. We didn't collect the money. We didn't put the money together. It was Orchard. So for him to say we did this on purpose is totally absurd. Also, I want to.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, I wanted to say that I found out about this maybe, I really don't know when I found out, but I addressed it with Jim as soon as I found out. And what I'd like, so maybe I had several months to address this. And Jim said, I'll look into it, Leon, but you don't always get an immediate answer from these distribution companies. My question is that I had several months to try and address this. Corey has now had both of these accounts for over 2 years. Has he addressed it? Has he got the commingling stopped?
So we never received any sort of response back from Jim Martin when we reached out to him for communications. And this is the first time I'm, seeing this as of like yesterday. We received it right before your deposition. So, this would have helped to have had this quite a long time ago. Did they ever correct the distributions? Did they send you a corrected distribution document?
No. And then if you look at the date here, after this, we're talking February, shortly after this, I was taken out of the picture. So after that, I didn't have communications with Jim about Cosmic Secret money or Above Majestic money. All that was then with Corey. That's why I was wondering if Corey was able to straighten it out. But you just said you reached out to Jim and Jim never quite responded, which sounds like a distribution company. So we're both in the same boat, I believe. I reached out to him and didn't get anything done on it. And it sounds like you're saying the same thing happened with you.
We've reached out.
If I'm understanding.
Right.
If I'm understanding you.
Right. And we've reached out to him since asking for communications, and he has not provided us with any of those communications.
Okay. So then you understand what I went through then.
Sure. Have you spoken with Jim Martin since, in the last couple of years?
Yes, but not about this, because once Corey took over, I stayed out of Above Majestic and Cosmic Secret. So my next subsequent conversations with Jim were about the Observers, which is another project that we did with him.
Are you still on good terms with Jim Martin? Would you be able to ask him to respond to my requests? Yeah, we haven't heard anything back from him at all. In fact, we heard back from 1051's counsel that said, was pretty evasive.
Yeah, counsel, this is Lennon Webb. I think you're asking my client to reach out or communicate to someone for you, and that's just not proper. You could have your client reach out to him, but I'm not going to start engaging my client acting on your behalf or at your direction, other than to answer your questions. So,
Sure.
Can I respond, please?
So,
I'd like to respond to that, though, Val.
sure.
As a gesture of good faith, I will reach out to Jim and ask him about this, because I would tell him, I'll remind him, hey, Jim, I asked you about this almost 2 years ago and didn't get an answer. And now I'm hearing from Corey's attorney that they asked you about the same thing. Now, Val, I think what's probably going to have to happen is they're probably going to have to be audited. That's what I think is going to have to happen. But I will reach out to him.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There was one other document, 8550. Let me see. Oh, Caleb, is there any way that I can scroll up, or is that?
Yeah, would you like me to take us to the page?
Oh, yes, please. I think it lets me do some stuff, but it doesn't let me do other things.
Yeah, as long as it's okay if I, in searching for that page, briefly show other documents as we're scrolling through it.
So let's go ahead and make that, Ms. Steller, I'll be keeping track of the exhibits, and I'll send them to you. I can't promise you tonight. I promised the court reporter yesterday, and stuff happens. So it'll be there in the next couple of days. So this will be plaintiff exhibit 24, I believe.
Did you say it was okay for me to scroll past other pages, or?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. You said 8550?
Yes, please.
All right. There we go.
Oh, was this redacted?
Has numbers on them?
Mr. Kennedy, is this the other document that you were referring to?
I have to go and look over here because yeah, that's the same thing. That's just the lead in to what we just read.
Oh, I see. So that's like the cover page or something like that.
Yes. I call it my preamble so that people understand what I'm sending.
Gotcha. Okay. Was that document faxed then, or?
It was,
That's the preamble to the letter.
to my knowledge, it was sent the same way they sent everything else.
Oh, it was sent as a letter.
That goes with the letter you just read.
It goes with what we just read, Val.
Okay. So was that like a cover sheet and that like the actual
Yes.
document? Okay.
Yeah, I call it a preamble. What I did was, with most of what I sent over, I talked about what it was concerning so that people would understand.
Okay.
It was just the pre-attachment.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Gotta make sure I got the page. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you, Caleb. We can take this down now. All right. So that takes us up to 2019, I believe, the end of 2019, where upon delivery, you were supposed to receive the second $100,000. They didn't want to give it to you. You made them give it to you. Does that sound about right? End of 2019?
Yes.
Okay. So, after all of that was finalized, what were the other projects that you were working on with them, with Mr. Goode? Or was that?
Well,
was
the
that-
big one, no, the big one, so Cosmic Secret was already out. So the big one was the 20 and back. And as I explained, I had reached out to major people. Netflix was very, very interested. They wanted other elements. And the other elements were a top director or a top writer. That's why I approached Fuqua, and that's why I approached Jim Hart.
Okay. Okay, and so did anything, and that's when Mr. Hart said, I'm not going to wait for 4 more months, and said we're not gonna move forward with the deal.
Correct.
Okay.
Which was heartbreaking to me, because I think that when I won't even think, I know that with Jim Hart's involvement, we would have had a deal with Netflix, and a major motion picture could have been done with sequels and merchandising and everything else. It's absolutely heartbreaking that we were that close, and then, you know, everything went straight to hell.
Okay. Okay, so you said everything went straight to hell. Is that where the wheels came off and nobody was talking anymore?
That is correct. And even in the way you put that, no one was talking anymore. In Corey's deposition, he said that when he initially put out the lawsuit, that he was willing to sit down and talk with us. And what I'm saying here on the record, Val, is that is not true. We had, and his name came up yesterday, we had John D'Souza approach Corey. The reason we had John approach Corey is because John is also in the metaphysical community, and he's well respected in the community, and he knew Corey, and he knew Roger, myself, Adrian. So we asked him to approach Corey and basically say, Corey, what is it that you want? With Adrian, what is it that you want? With Leon, what is it that you want? With Roger, what is it that you want? Now, when John came back to us, he basically said, Corey wants to destroy you. He wants to absolutely ruin you and bankrupt you and take everything that you have. And I can't do anything else in negotiations. And it's my opinion, you need to get a good litigation lawyer. And that's when we reached out and got Mr. Webb's team. So there was never any overture to sit down and talk and work things out. That's number one. Number two, even in my public statements, I said to Corey, if you're the defender of the light, then why can't we sit down as men, even with the camera on, and go over each accusation and work this out. I said that publicly. He has never responded to me. And I'm still willing to do that. And I'm also willing to take a lie detector test, because this whole thing has been just such a waste of time and such a waste of money, when everybody should be moving ahead trying to do some positive things.
Mr. Kennedy, are you telling me that Mr. D'Souza did not give you a settlement offer from Mr. Goode?
No. Now, we got a settlement offer from you a couple months ago, but I no settlement offer from John D'Souza, no.
And his words were that Mr. Goode wanted to destroy you.
That is correct. And then, you know, a lot of things happened since then, as far as smear campaigns and various other things. And I'm speaking for myself. I've always been willing to sit down and talk. I rather do something positive than to try and destroy somebody. But I also will say that in my spiritual walk, I'm not a turn the other cheek person. I'm more Old Testament, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So if you're trying to destroy me for nothing and take away everything that I've ever worked for, and I've worked hard since I was 12 years old, then I will also destroy you. That's the way that I have to look and respond to things. But I rather work things out.
So the first time you received a settlement offer from Mr. Goode through anybody of your intermediaries was only a few months ago?
From you, yes.
So it would probably surprise you that a few different settlement offers have been tried to be sent your way.
Well, I would be very, very surprised. And I am open to them because, as I said, I think it's a waste of time that could be better spent on everybody's part. And I don't really like destroying people, Val, but I will if I have to.
Okay. That actually brings me to a good, let me go through some other stuff first. It's a shame that that's what you heard from Mr. D'Souza. Okay. I want to pull up, it's exhibit number 11 from yesterday. I'll go ahead and, because I know, Stellar, I did not share them with you. I should have just sent over. We're only going to reuse exhibit 11. It's the initial disclosures. What would be, oh wait, no, I need to send it to Mr. Geese, right?
Correct.
Okay, sorry. And am I saying that right? Is it Geese?
It's Geis.
Geis, sorry. I've got a weird last name too. No one can ever say it. Okay,
You're
Geis.
good.
Okay, I'll send you the exhibit number 11.
Okay, are you going to put it in that Dropbox?
Oh, I can do that. Oh, can I? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it either way.
Okay. All right. Okay, I just sent it over.
The PEX 11.
Yes.
All right, give me one moment while I download it. And is there a specific page you'd like me to go ahead and open up to, or?
Yes, please. We're gonna go to number 2, page number 2.
All right. I'll share my screen. Just give me one moment.
Actually, we could go to 3.
This is.
If she's looking.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy, we're looking at what I've marked as plaintiff's exhibit number 11. And this is, when we were talking about written discovery earlier, this is what's called initial disclosures. Both parties have to send them over at the beginning of the lawsuit. And there were quite a few people that were listed with people that have information on y'all's initial disclosures. So I'm just going to go through.
Val, can you talk into the mic a little more, please? It's coming
Sure.
through muddled.
Yes, sorry. Is this better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. We've already spoken with most of these people. So Elizabeth Wilcock, you know who that is?
I do, yes.
And when was the last time you spoke with her?
Quite some time ago, I'd say probably 2 years ago. By the way, I married David and Beth.
And you know they're no longer together?
I did hear that.
Okay, so you have not spoken with Ms. Wilcock, I think that's still her last name now, since the institution of this lawsuit?
That is correct.
Do you know who Kaylin McDonald is?
I do.
And when was the last time you spoke with her?
I haven't talked to her in some time.
Okay, so not since the institution of this lawsuit?
Pardon me?
Not since the beginning of this lawsuit?
You know, I may have talked to her because the lawsuit now has drug on almost 2 years. I may have spoken to her within the 2-year time period, but it was just too, but let me just think. The last time she was working with the group. I'm just trying to think what the project was. I think she did some marketing on 1,000 Pieces, which is a documentary that our team had done. And we're talking, Val, now over a year and a half ago.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Lydia Escobar, do you know who that is?
I know Lydia, yes.
Okay, and when was the last time you spoke with her?
That too has been at least 2 years.
Okay. Mr. Geis, can we go down to the next page, please? Do you know Anela Izadi?
No, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Renee Armenta?
I know Renee, yes.
Okay, and when was the last time you spoke with him?
Renee actually did the music for the documentary, The Observers. That documentary was done 2021. So I was in contact with him during that time.
Okay, and have you spoken with him about anything concerning this lawsuit?
I have not.
Okay. Do you know who Brandon Graham is?
Who?
Brandon Graham?
Yes, I know Brandon quite well.
Okay, and when was the last time you spoke with him?
I spoke to Brandon immediately after Corey's deposition when Corey said that people complained that they didn't get paid on time. Brandon was one of the people that I said to you earlier that I called saying, Brandon, Corey basically had stated that, and I didn't tell him it was in a deposition, but I basically had said that Corey had made overtures that people didn't get paid. Did you make any complaints that you didn't get paid? No, Leon, we got paid every month. No, Leon, we got everything at the end of the year. No, Leon, everything was perfect. So that was the reason for my call to Brandon. He also answered for Dave Everhart because they're basically partners.
Okay, but nothing else concerning this lawsuit?
No.
Okay. Can we scroll to the next page, please, Mr. Geis? Okay, so Dave Everhart and Brandon Graham are both partners.
They're partners.
Okay, and you haven't spoken with Everhart about anything concerning this lawsuit?
No, Val, I haven't.
We already talked about Jim Martin. You haven't talked with him anything about this lawsuit, correct?
No.
Okay. Do you know who Jay Widener is?
I know who Jay is, yes.
Okay. And when was the last time you spoke with him?
Quite some time ago.
Okay. Have you talked to him at all about this lawsuit?
No. I know he's involved in his own lawsuit with Corey.
Okay. Do you know who Laura Borgata is?
I don't know her.
Okay. And I assume you don't know Sarah Borgata either?
No, I heard Adrian mention yesterday that they were twins, but I do not know them.
Okay. Rob Counts, do you know who that is?
I don't know Rob, I don't think.
Okay. Can we scroll to the next page, please, Caleb? Mr. Geis? Okay, Ben Chastain, do you know who that is?
Is that Rob and Ben that have Edge of Wonder?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, then yes, I do know him.
Okay, when was the last time you spoke with him?
Let's see. I think I'm just trying to get it straight in my mind, Val, which one is which. I ran into him at no, it was Rob that I ran into at Conscious Life Expo. I haven't seen Ben in probably a year and a half.
Okay. But you haven't spoken with him about this lawsuit at all?
No, I have not.
Okay. Jimmy Church, you know who that is?
Jimmy, I know quite well. He's a good friend.
Okay. And when was the last time you spoke with him?
About 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Have you spoken about this lawsuit with him at all?
Spoke with Jimmy and his wife, Rita, when the lawsuit first came out. Now, let me just take a moment with this if I could. When the lawsuit first came out, a lot of people started calling me with grievances that they had with Corey. Rita was one of them, and she tearfully she spent over an hour talking to me, basically stating that she helped Jimmy with the radio show. And she was saying that they were going to have a guest. I think it was Jason Rice. Don't quote me on that because I'm not really sure. But they were having a guest come on the show that Corey did not want to come on. He looked at this person as a LARPer. And this is a live show. So according to what Jimmy and Rita explained to me, you know, how can we get a cease and desist and not have a guest right before airtime? So they brought the person on. Corey didn't like it. And according to Rita, Corey stalked them, tried to totally destroy their organization, and sent them through a lot of emotional grief to the point where Rita physically got sick. And Jimmy certainly didn't appreciate it. And he said to me, hey, Leon, I gave Corey an effing platform, and he's going to do this to me and my wife. And we have no love for him at all. We don't appreciate what he did. And we're willing to testify to the fact. So yes, I did have a long, involved conversation, but that was, as I said, about a year and a half ago,
Okay.
whenever the lawsuit first came out.
Did Mr. Church give you any specifics as to how Mr. Goode tried to destroy them?
Yeah, they talked about that he stalked them, that they had an organization, that he literally went out of his way to infiltrate and destroy. Like I said, it was over an hour conversation.
Was it like with a cyber attack or something to that nature?
I could not give you that specific. I just know that they were both very, very upset. And as I said, she was crying as she told me her version of what had happened.
Okay, but they didn't give any details as to what specifically happened.
Well, the details about stalking, they did mention that. They did mention that he destroyed this organization and it cost them. They did say that. Now, as far as other specifics more than that, I'm sure they said things because it was over an hour conversation, but everything else that they said, I can't remember well enough to truthfully articulate to you this afternoon.
Sure, understood. When he stalked them, did he show up at their house, or what did they mean by stalk?
Well, from what I've been told by other people, you know, Corey has other legions to do his dirty work. He usually is the one that just puts out the command. And that's why I said to you earlier, Val, there are two sides to this Corey Goode. One side is a very lovable, likable person. But there's also, and I talked about it in my public statement, there's also a very dark side that is totally into destroying people. He's very, very vindictive, and he'll do anything necessary to take a person down if he thinks that that person came against him. And I could go line after line after line. I could start with Gaia. Gaia has had hundreds of people work for them. Other people haven't sued them. They took an unknown that could have had a laughable story, built him into a star, and he turns around and sues them. He gave Corey, not Corey, David Wilcock and Emery Smith a cease and desist where they couldn't supposedly even do their own TV show after Corey had left the show. If I go into Conscious Life Expo or Contact in the Desert, it has been brought out that Corey was intoxicated, did a lackluster job. But instead of taking responsibility for that, what did he do? He had his legions picket those conferences. And by the way, I was there, tried to talk David Wilcock out of doing Conscious Life Expo. In other words, they're not going to have me, David. They blackballed me, so you shouldn't do it either. I can go on and on and on with people that Corey has come against and then tried to destroy. And that's why when he said that I have caused him damages in the statements that I made and that he wants to sue me for damages, I would say on the record, Corey should sue himself because he's the one that has fallen out with major players in this community. I mean, major players like Bill Ryan, Kerry Cassidy, dark journalists, Tony Rodriguez, James Ring. I could go on and on and on. Linda Moulton Howe, George Norrie. Can everybody be wrong and Corey always be a victim? I don't think so. So that's what I mean by he gets other people, Corey does, to do his dirty work.
Okay. I think there was something that you produced last night that showed that the cease and desist to, with David and Emery, that was something that, was actually, that they knew about beforehand. Do you recall producing
Well,
that?
yeah. Let me just see, because there's two of them. One was
Wait, hold on, are you
addressing,
looking at a document? If so, we need to pull it up on screen.
okay.
On the bottom.
Where's the document number? Okay, this says Youngblood 8492-8493. Are you waiting on me or you're pulling it up?
I've got it up on my screen. I just don't think we have, oh, we do. Okay, never mind. Okay. We have it up on the screen.
Okay. So this is the one you want me to address?
Sure. So you had mentioned that David and Emery got cease and desist. And this was produced to us yesterday.
Yes.
Did you know that, I mean, I guess this shows you were aware that David knew that he was going to get a cease and desist?
Well, the reason that I brought this about, Val, was to show some intrigue here. And the intrigue here is it would be better if you let Beth think that all this is real. And then I did drop the ball in not fully giving you the plan behind my legal action with Gaia. I had to be very careful back then because you would tend to say too much to play both sides a little in situations with Gaia in the past. This was important for you to accidentally telegraph my intentions to Kirsten. Now, Kirsten is one of the top people at Gaia. So I am reading this to you from this email that was sent over to me that said, David's eyes only, need to chat about this.
Okay, so, and how did you get this email?
I'm not sure. I guess it was sent over to me by David to take a look at.
Okay, so David knew that he was going to get the cease and desist, though. So that wasn't something, that wasn't Corey, taking a shot at him, right?
Objection, vague, foundation, speculation.
Okay, well, in trying to answer that, Val, it went back and forth between the two of them. I think that at one point, David was offended, thinking that this was real, because Corey sort of addresses it either in this email or another one, saying, well, I would think my best friend would know that I wasn't really going to do it. So that means that David didn't know. As I said, there was intrigue that went back and forth between the two of them quite a bit.
Okay.
But my main reason for sending this was to show the manipulation of Corey. In other words, right here, he's manipulating what he's going to do with Gaia. He's manipulating what he's going to do with Kirsten. And this is part of Corey's MO. He's always manipulating, dominating, and trying to control people or the situation. That's the dark side of a Mr. Corey Goode.
Okay, I want to go back through some of the people that were listed in the disclosures. Laura Eisenhower, do you recall who that is?
Yes, I know it, Laura.
Okay, and when was the last time you spoke with her?
I haven't spoken with Laura since she did her statement against Corey when that round of statements came out.
Okay. And when you spoke with her, then how long of a conversation was it?
Very quick.
Okay, were you guys just discussing that you were both putting out a statement, or was there more to it than that?
It was basically, yes, we both came out with a statement. We hoped that Corey, let me answer it this way. Nobody really wants to just destroy this man. We would like to see him take responsibility for the things that he has done that are not right and try not to do them anymore and change a little bit and become the person that he says he is. When he talks about the law of one and so on and so forth, then he does things that are the complete antithesis to the law of one. People would rather help him than destroy him if he would let people help him. I did a whole intervention for Corey when this whole doxing scandal came up. I didn't have to, Val, but the reason I did the intervention, it was with Stacy too, to tell them that this whole doxing thing, and let me say this, Val, I'm not really a social media person, so I'm not on Facebook and I'm not posting and I don't do Twitter and so on and so forth. I do have all that, but my staff does it. I don't do it. But my point is, I'm not looking at all the monitoring and all the stuff that's going on social media. But when I keep getting, this is when I was working with Corey, when I keep getting all this feedback about this doxing scandal and how many people are coming against Corey and so on and so forth, I'm saying to him in the intervention, this is very serious. You've got a whole community coming against you. Can you stop? Will you just stay off of social media for a while? Will you quit addressing every single person that comes against you? You're a star. There's always going to be people that come against you. Rise above it. Do you know how many people come against a Prince or a Jay-Z or the Kardashians? Just the other day, Kim Kardashian was at the Dodgers game. They did a big thing on her, putting her on the monitor. She blew a kiss, and the whole stadium booed her.
Because of the Rams game too.
Oh, okay. So my point is that when you are a star, you have to be thick-skinned. So in the intervention, I was explaining to him, you got to rise above these things. I want you to do a public letter of apology, and let's move on. Because, Val, I was also saying to them that if this gets out of hand and the Hollywood community gets a hold of all of this, it's going to ruin the big picture. And I was always, Val, after the big picture. I was always after the 20 and Back television series, the 20 and Back movie. Do you know how big Corey would be right now if we could have pulled that off? He'd have been his own action hero, a live one, instead of someone portraying Batman. It was a very big project. That's what I was trying to do. All this petty stuff didn't matter. And even the feud that he was going through with Roger, when you start making millions and millions of dollars, you can become friends again. Money cures a lot of things. Success cures a lot of things. That's what I was trying to do. And that was the reason for the intervention. And then I also said to him, and this is very important for me to make this statement. I said to him, if we get you through this doxing scandal, then how are you going to behave in the future? And the reason I said that, Val, is because I said, when Michael Jackson had the first scandal with kids, he got through it. but he didn't change. And then there was another scandal. And that second scandal brought him down. And the problem with a lot of people that become big is when they get away with something, they think that they can get away with more and more and more, and they can't. And that's the little lesson that I was trying to show Corey. Let's change. Let's get on a better path in this. So anyway, I'm sorry for diverting, but I thought that that was important as far as answering your question.
Thank you. David Ike, do you know who that is?
I know of David Ike. I have never met him, nor have I ever had any correspondence with him.
Okay. Same with Jamie Ike.
Just from talking to Adrian, I know that that's the son, but once again, no interaction from me.
Robert David Steele.
Robert was involved in a project that we did, 1,000 pieces. I was not really part of that project as far as the production and so on and so forth. So I never met Robert.
Okay. Erica Broniak, do you know who that is?
I do not.
Okay. Yerker Ricety.
Yorka. I believe he's the owner of Gaia.
Yes. Have you spoken with him lately?
I have not.
Do you have another document that we need to look at?
For 11.
They gave me the one that you have the names
Oh,
on.
gotcha. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so Yerker Ricety, you know who that is? You haven't spoken with him lately?
I've never had conversations with Yorka.
Okay. What about Kirsten Mevitich?
Kirsten, I know. I've had conversations with her in the past, just cordial conversations, nothing about the lawsuit.
Okay. Richard Soto, do you know who that is?
I do not.
Mike Leisner?
Don't know him.
Okay. Chris Essa?
One second, please. Is Chris Essa, Chris Isa?
Is that, I don't know. I just took it from the disclosures.
Okay. If it's Chris Isa with a ISSA, I do know Chris Isa.
Okay. And who is he?
Chris is the person that does Crowdcast and various other events. He's a very talented person.
Have you spoken with him recently?
I spoke to Chris about a week ago, but I've not discussed this lawsuit with him.
Okay. What about Ken Alliance? Do you know who that is?
I do not.
So probably not Bryn Alliance either.
No.
Okay. And Nazarene Sheikh?
Do not know them.
Okay. That's Roger Richards' wife.
It's who?
Roger Richards.
Oh, Nazarene. I'm sorry. I do know her. I know her quite well. I didn't recognize the name the way it was. Yes, I know Nazarene.
Okay. Have you spoken with her lately?
I haven't spoken to Nazarene in a couple months, but I've never discussed the lawsuit with Nazarene.
Okay. What about Gary Bean? Do you know who that is?
I do not.
Carrie Cassidy, do you know who that is?
I know the name. I don't think I know her, but I do know the name.
Okay. And then Emery Smith. Have you spoken with him?
I know Emery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Emery quite well.
Have you spoken with him recently?
No, Emery sort of has dropped out. I haven't spoken to Emery probably in a year and a half.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, but here's an interesting story for you. I'm at, I guess one of them, Conscious Life Expo. Now, Emery and I were close. You know, we've had meals together, we've hung out together. And I was also close to Jimmy Church. I'm close to Jimmy again now, but I'm just telling you about this incident that happened a year and a half ago. So I'm at Conscious Life Expo. Jimmy and Emery are standing there talking in the hallway. I come up the way I normally am with them. Hey guys, how you doing? And it was a very cold shoulder, Val, from Jimmy and from Emery. And I said, and Emery, you don't even return my phone calls anymore. And I said it in sort of a laughing way, and he said, and no, I won't, Leon. And I won't have anything to do with you while you're with Corey Goode. That's what they both said to me.
Was this at CLE of this year?
No. This was a good 2 years ago. Well, when I was still with Corey.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I think it's the last one on the list.
Can they take this letter?
You ask
with it? Who do I ask?
Yes, say.
Whoever's in charge of the letter, because it's on my monitor. Can you take it down since we're finished with it?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this, but Liz Laurie, you know who she is. Have you spoken with her lately?
Yeah, of course I know who Miss Liz Laurie is.
And you haven't
And
spoken?
no, I have not. I have not spoken to her since she turned on everyone and this lawsuit happened. And what I mean by turning on everyone, Val, is when Corey, first of all, I met Liz when we were in Hawaii. You know, you mentioned that Hawaii conference.
Right.
That's where I met Liz. And Maureen met Liz, and we became friendly with Liz. She didn't know Corey at the time. But in hindsight, she was working her way into Corey. So then when Corey approached me about Liz, he approached me with, she's a lawyer that's out of work. She needs work. She needs employment. We should put her on a retainer. And I said to Corey, number one, we don't have enough money to put someone on a retainer. Number two, we don't have enough legal work just to put someone on a retainer. And then he said, well, maybe David and I can share the expense of a retainer. I said, even sharing it with David, we don't have enough money to put a lawyer on a retainer. But knowing Beth the way I know Beth, she's not going to let David spend money to put her on a retainer. I said, but if we do legal work, if you want me to use her, we will. We'll give her first shot at what she's capable of doing. So then she represented all of us to put some things together. By all of us, I mean Roger Richards, Brandon Graham, Dave Everhart, myself, and Corey. But then later, going for the big bucks, she just went with Corey, diverted the money from the rest of us. So to me, it was a real conflict of interest when once upon a time you represent us and now you've turned against us. That's a conflict of interest. The same as it was a conflict of interest when she was negotiating with Adrian Youngblood to dissolve this DOD conference situation, and at the same time signing up with Corey to start their own conference company. That's a conflict of interest. Then all of a sudden, we look up and Liz is doing conferences. She had no experience, but she's doing conferences, she's doing lectures and so on and so forth. So she wanted really to become us, but she turned on us and used us to become us. I think that was very unethical on Liz's part. She became Corey's bulldog to send out all the nasty letters to people, to threaten people and so on and so forth. And to me, it was just atrocious in the way she acted. She sent me, a letter about diverting the funds. I followed her instructions to send to the accounting who she wanted me to send. I said that to you earlier, several hours ago, to the accounting firm. But in that same letter, Val, she also promised this is only going to be while an audit's being done. Now that was 2020. How long does it take to do an audit? 60 days, 90 days? And once the audit's done, you'll have complete transparency throughout the whole time. And once the audit's done, we'll start making disbursements. Well, that was almost 2 years ago. We've never heard back from Liz, never heard back from Corey. There's been no transparency, certainly no disbursements. And now we hear for the rest of the team that David Wilcock got a buyout, and the rest of the team still has never been notified. When are they going to get a buyout? When are they going to get some money? So, you know, it was just very unscrupulous the way Liz went about things. And to me, when she came out with her own lawsuit, complaining all the nice things she had done for Corey, we sent him a car, we did this, we did that, and she's crying on social media and almost asking for donations. You know what it was to me? Instant karma, because of the way she had treated other people.
Okay. So we already talked about John D'Souza. Do you know who Ken Dander is?
No, I don't.
Okay. I want to touch briefly on your current connection with the other individuals, on the other defendants. What is your connection with Ms. Youngblood as of right now?
We've been partners in different productions, and we're friends.
There were a couple of productions that you guys have worked on in the last year, right?
That is correct.
Okay. One, I forget the name of it. What was the most recent one?
Well, she did trans. She really did trans on her own. And then the other one was The Observers.
Right, The Observers. Okay. Are you guys working on anything right now?
Not currently, no.
And Mr. Richards, are you pretty close with him still?
Yes, we're still friends, and it's the same answer. We worked on those same projects that I just already mentioned.
Have you spoken to him since at all this week?
I have not.
And do you know who Matthew Mornian is?
I do.
And who is Matthew Mornian?
Matthew was the person that approached me to make the public statements. He said that he was doing a series of statements about Corey, and he wanted to see if I wanted to make a statement, and I told him that I would.
Have you spoken with him at all since those statements were put out?
Maybe a week or two, Val, after the statements went out, but I haven't spoken with him since then.
Okay. Has he attempted to contact you after that last conversation with him?
You said, has he attempted to contact me?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'd like Mr. Geist to pull up the document that is labeled GES _Richards 000029. And Mr. Kennedy, we sent those over earlier. Your council should have a copy printed out.
Alrighty.
I think it's under a different name.
Oh. Oh, gotcha. Yes, okay. That would be the Bates number on the bottom, but I don't know if that's easily locatable. Let me just see.
You have it, Lyndon.
Okay, could you tell me, is it base number, is it the 150 pages we gave you last night, or is it in a separate section?
It's a separate document. It's one of the, I think there were 7 documents I sent this morning. Hold on, let me, I don't have my email up because it would be
So it's one of
distracted.
their documents.
Can you give me those numbers again?
Sure, and I'll give you the name. Let me just sign into my email. I'm not signed into it because it would be blowing up right now. Okay. Okay, so that would be. It would be, Mr. Geis, the Western Union Global Pay.
Okay.
Is it base number 29?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm pulling that up now. Just give me one moment. All right, it should be up.
Thank you. I'll request access. Okay. I'll go click. Okay. We're going to focus on the second to last and the last page. It's a forwarded message from the Orchard to goodtech@yahoo.com. And the subject is Western Union Global Payee Manager Enrollment Approved. Do you see that, Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah, you got a little muddy. Would you just say that one more time for me, Val?
Yes, so it's the last 2 pages ending in Bates number 31 and 32. It has a screenshot that goes over it. I just want to focus on where it says global pay. Hello, Corey Goode. Your enrollment as a beneficiary for client Orchard Enterprises New York has been approved. Is that, do you recognize this this document right here?
I don't recognize it. No.
Okay. If you scroll up to the page ending in 30, there is the forwarded message from Mr. Goode to you on Wednesday, January 23rd.
All right, 1 second. Let me see if I can find that.
Okay.
Okay, so he's saying to me, I'm trying to see what. What's he saying to me? I'm trying to follow it.
Sure. So it says account approved finally. And then it looks like he's forwarding you the email from the Orchard saying that the enrollment has been approved.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do you recall seeing this email?
Okay. Well, since it was addressed to me, then I'm sure that I did see it, you know, offhand. I said I didn't recognize it, but if it was sent to me, then yeah. And then I also see here that Maureen is the one that said, good job, Corey. I'm setting up the SBA Entertainment Wells Fargo account for the direct deposits. However, I'm pretty sure that we need the login for the Western Union portion in order to facilitate the transfer over. So she's coordinating with Corey here, yes.
Okay.
And I was on this.
Okay. Then we'll go back up to the next message, and it looks like it's from Corey back to you. And it says the Wells Fargo account does not need the Western Union info unless you are sending money via Western Union. Western Union is only being used by the orchard to get funds into our account. And then you, either you or Maureen responds back, yes, thanks, break a leg. What I want to focus on is the global payee manager. Do you recall logging in to the payee?
Can you speak into the mic, Val, for me?
Sure. Do you recall logging into the payee manager system at all? After you got access?
Who?
The payee managers system?
I'm not really sure what the pay management system was. We wouldn't be paying them if this was Orchard. Orchard was sending money to us.
Right. And I think that you were discussing this earlier when you said that it would go down sometimes. I think that this is the same thing. Does that sound right? And it was supposed to show you the distribution.
Well, I don't think that this is the dash that you're talking about.
It's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really know what this is about, because as I said, they would be sending money to us, not us sending money to them. So I don't know why we would be using this Western Union Global Pay.
Okay.
Now, also, let me say this, in looking at the date, this is January 23rd, 2019. So we're just now getting set up, Val. Remember I told you that SBA Entertainment LLC, the Delaware, was not even incorporated until, I believe, I'm talking off the top of my head, but I believe it was January 18th,
Okay.
2019. So this
Right.
is only 5 days later. I don't even know if we had our Wells Fargo bank account open yet. So we're just getting started here. So I'm really not putting a handle on this.
Okay, that's okay. I think the next one will help. Let me find the name really quick. Okay. It's ending in Bates number. It's our production. Excuse me. It's the Bates number ending in 34. And Mr. Geis, I'll get the name for you really quick. Oh, I forgot to mark that as an exhibit. I'm sorry. Ms. Stellar, do you recall, we're on PEX 25, is that correct?
So we're done with this document?
Yes, thank you. So that one, that document will be PEX 25.
Is the new one coming up?
And then the next one, Mr. Geis, will be the one that's titled SBA Entertainment LLC.
All right.
Can you give me that last one that we just had? Thank you.
All right, it should be up.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll start at the bottom because it goes up the other way. Okay, so you see where it says Wells Fargo main business. It says, Jim, when we spoke last week, you said that on about this date, you could give me the following, the exact amount of how much is coming in. I believe this is for the month of November, a closer spread on the date, that the dashboard would be set up so that all of our people could look at the up-to-date accounting. If you could, please forward this info to me. If there's anything else you needed for your wire transfer, please inform me. As always, appreciate you, Leon. Do you recall sending that email? I know it was a long time ago.
Okay, I'm looking at the wrong form.
Oh,
Which, what you just gave me is not what she read. Let
it's
me
in-
just walk over to the screen here and I can see it.
okay. And council,
Same document. Are you on page 2 or page 1?
She said here, Jim, when we spoke last week,
you-
and I'm trying to see the date.
I was on the page. Oh, the date's up at the top. Sorry.
Okay, Val, what's throwing me off, it's on the back side of this, so let me,
Okay.
okay. What is your question, please?
Yes, so the date on this is January 14th. And if you look on the second page at like bullet number 3, says that the dashboard would be set up so that all of our people could look at the up-to-date accounting.
Yes,
So was that the Orchard login that we saw on the previous exhibit, the exhibit number 25?
well, when you say, is it the login, I'm not really sure. But I was asking for the dashboard to be set up.
Okay, and did Jim ever get the dashboard set up?
He did, and as I said, sometimes it would be up and people could see it, and other times it would be down, and we would wait for weeks or months before you could get an accurate accounting of what was coming in.
Okay. And did everybody have access to that dashboard?
Well, not everybody, but Corey did for sure. Roger did. I and Maureen did. I think that was it. Maybe Jordan.
Okay,
Oh, David Wilcock would have had access.
okay. And then the Wells Fargo account on the first page ending in Bates number 0034. Is that the SBA Entertainment LLC? Is that the bank account that's hooked up to the Delaware entity?
No. If we're talking about the page, the flip page with the account number ending in 8605, that's the Delaware
That's a
account.
Delaware account. Okay. And
And Val, just for clarity, that is the official account that collected all the money.
okay.
And when we sent you the accounting, that all came from this account. The Colorado account, to my knowledge, was never used.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move now to Bates ending in zero, it's our production Bates number ending in 0054. And I will mark that as plaintiff's exhibit number 27. And the name of Mr. Geis, Letter to the Orchard.
All right. Should be up now.
Okay, I see it. Sure. Okay, do you have that document up, Mr. Kennedy? We're just gonna look at it briefly.
Yeah, I do have it in front of me.
Okay, and do you recognize that document?
One second.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what is it?
You're asking me what does it mean?
Yes.
It says it's a letter to the Orchard regarding the company name change. Please sign, and it's coming from Corey.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm gonna pull up, this will be from defendant's production, and it's Youngblood 5206. And Mr. Geis, that is Kennedy correspondence.
All right.
I'm gonna mark this as exhibit, plaintiff's exhibit number 28.
And Val, can I make a quick statement and question regarding this?
Sure.
One of the things that's a little confusing here is that some of these correspondences are not in order when it comes to the date. Now, for example, what I just looked at was January 15th. So he's writing to Orchard saying there's going to be a name change. But earlier, we had looked at the January 23rd, which followed up from this January 15th that we just looked at. And the January 23rd goes along with this name change saying, I am setting up the SBA Entertainment LLC Wells Fargo. So that really is the next step after what he sent them about the name change.
Right. So what it,
So everything was in order here. He's saying to them, I'm changing the name. Then he's saying to them, I'm setting up the SBA Entertainment LLC Wells Fargo account. And then the last thing we looked at shows what the Wells Fargo account was. So it's just a correlation of things.
right, absolutely. Yep, that's what we're going through.
All right, I just wanted to make sure we were in sync.
Yes.
I apologize, Valerie. Can you give me those numbers again?
Sure. It's so it's client docs 5206. Didn't it? I can't see what the box has in it. Let's see. I might be able to send. Is it uploaded in there, Mr. Geis, or?
I have client docs 8491 through 8645.
Yeah, it's a different one. Let me, I'm just gonna try and send it through the the chat.
Okay. I have another document that has the numbers or GES Richards 94. That's
Uh,
not what we're looking for, is it?
no, that we'll do that one next, but I just tried to send the doc through our direct message, but it didn't work for some reason. Let me try again. It's not sending the file.
Will it not upload to the Dropbox?
Let's see. I thought I did that. Let me try again. Okay. It says it's finished.
Okay. Give me one moment.
Okay.
All right, it should be up on the screen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kennedy, does this document look? Do you recognize this document?
Linda, do I have it? I'm sorry.
Are you looking
I
for
don't- I don't-
5206?
I don't have it. 1 second.
Yes.
Okay, so that's in an old production. We'll get it for you.
Well, I'll just go to the screen.
Yeah, we actually have a hard copy right here. Here.
Val, give me a second to look at it, please.
Of course.
Okay, I see this. The only thing I don't see on this is the date, but I understand this letter, and yes, it clearly came from me.
Okay, and I'll represent to you. If you look at the other email, it looks like it's the same document that was connected to that. But you can't see the file name. But regardless, so can you explain what this
Do
document?
you
shows?
have the date?
I do. Let me see. Oops. Hold on. Okay. This should be from January 15th, 2019.
Okay. All right, so your question to me on this is what, please?
Can you explain what this document's showing?
Sure. It's talking about the name change. He wanted an explanation as to why there was one name on the contract, which had been signed, a couple months before, and now another name for the bank account. So I go through it. The distribution contract for Orchard was signed by SBA Media LLC. We've incorporated new partners into a brand new identity and business entity under SBA Entertainment LLC. Now, also, I explained to you before that SBA Entertainment LLC was also set up to be a neutral entity to collect the funds, and that gave David some type of comfort level. And we set up SBA Entertainment LLC. So then SBA Media LLC will be dissolved. The company name and the bank account is now officially SBA Entertainment LLC. Corey Goode and Roger Richards will attest to this. If there's any further information required, please let us know. We have sent you all of the banking information regarding disbursements. That's the same banking information that Corey sent to him, Val, that ended in the Wells Fargo account ending in 8605. We've sent you all the banking information regarding disbursements. In setting up the Western Union Royal Payment System, there was confusion on which routing number to enter. Is it the wire transfer routing number or the local bank routing number? Lev, please clarify. And then respectfully, coming from me. And then after that, we were in business and everything ran pretty smoothly.
Okay, thank you. The next document I will want to look at is GES Richards 66. And the name of that one, Mr. Geis, and this will be PEX 29.
You said the numbers are 66.
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe I have that.
Okay, yeah, for some reason, those two documents were the 5206 and the 66, just did not go through. I don't know why. Okay. I think Mr. Webb was the only person that got all of them. I got bounce backs from everybody else. Okay. Oh, wait, did you guys receive that, Mr. Webb?
So you're asking me if I received what you put in the chat? Is that your question?
No, it's a document that ended in Bates number, our production ended in Bates number 66. But
Yes, we have that.
oh, you do have that, okay.
Yeah, do you want me to number that as next in order?
Yes, please, PEX 29.
29, got it. And the deponent has it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for sending it early.
All right, it should be up on the screen now.
Okay. And this is the only email, so we don't have to start from the bottom on this. But I'll give you a second to read through.
Okay, so you have sent me this letter to Roger and Corey.
Yes. Do you recall
Okay.
what was going on around this time?
When you say what was going on, what do you mean, please?
So I think you and I discussed earlier that that you had spoken with a couple of producers and that they said that it needed a little bit more. Was this that instance?
No, I don't think we had gotten that far yet. What I was addressing here, Val, is that they wanted to have like a pre-story and then eventually work into the Corey Goode story. And now let's remember that neither one of them had ever done a movie before. And I also know how studios look at things. I know how scripts are evaluated and so on and so forth. So basically they were telling me that, well, we could do this pre-story and then we can work our way into the real story. And what I was saying to them is if we don't come out with a hit, there won't be anything else. That's what I was trying to explain.
Okay.
So I was also saying that we've got to carve this thing out because it's a big IP. It could go in a lot of different places. We've got to figure out where we want it to go. What is the genre? What's it like? Is it like Fire in the Sky? Is it like something else? Then that way we've got some type of prototype that we can follow. That's basically what the genesis of this correspondence is trying to be, instead of being fragmented all over the place with creativity, lots of times with creative people, you got to just reel it in and drill it down.
Okay. Okay. So this was at the beginning of when you guys had started to put together what you wanted to be in the Corey movie. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then was this where the Team Corey phrase came from, talking about the Corey movie, and then it morphed into Team Corey?
Yeah, the Team Corey was a phrase I came up with. I thought it was a good phrase. It was a team, and Corey certainly was the overall component of the team. Everything was really built around Corey. Everything was, you know, Corey, and I tried to make him understand this. He had a machine behind him. Every big star has to have a machine, and that machine is creative. That machine takes care of public image. It takes care of marketing, and it keeps pushing and driving. And if you don't have that, you can't make it. And Corey had a great team. I mean, to me, it was a dream team, and that's why I fought so hard trying to keep it together. Can you take the lever off the screen, please, so I can see everyone better? Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to pull up, it's our production Bates number ending in 94. And the title, Mr. Geis, is Above Majestic.
Okay, I've got that.
Got that one? Okay. And that's going to be PEX 30. Plaintiff's Exhibit 30. Okay. And we'll probably have to go down to the bottom to start on this one.
So which part of this do you want me to look at, Val?
So it looks like the first email at the bottom, and this is from February 16th of 2019, is from Roger to you and Corey. And it looks like he's laying out a couple of ideas, kind of outlines for some possible movies.
Okay, so let me just get in sync with you, because
Okay.
there are two things from Roger. So am I supposed to be looking at the Saturday, February 16th? Is that what you want me to look at?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me look at that. Give me a minute, please.
Okay.
Okay, now what I'm looking at, I don't see where it ended. Is there an end to this?
Yes, so it's at the bottom, I think it just says sent from my iPhone. I think that Roger just typed that on his phone. And
Okay, because the last thing, I just want to make sure I'm in sync. The last thing I see, last sentence is, I will get this outline for the second movie to you guys as soon as possible. Is that the last line?
oh. It should be. I don't see that. So the Bates number should be 94 through 99.
Okay, so Lyndon, this is what I was looking at right here, but I don't see where this ends, this particular.
Oh, I see. Okay, it looks like you're at 97. There should be one more page, front and back.
198. Just says that.
Oh, I see. Okay, Val, when I flipped the page, it was very simple. It was just a one thing here, thank you from Corey. So that's what threw me off. Okay, so in looking at this, what is your question to me, please?
Yes, so like on that first email on that string, that it's Roger sending an email to you and Corey, and the subjects of Majestic Orchard Films. It looks like he's giving two like ideas for films.
Yes.
Majestic 2 and 3. And that was February 16th. If I remember correctly, that's about the time where things had started to get a little bit rough with Roger and Corey.
That was just a little bit of the beginning. Now, we have to remember, this is early 2019. So Above Majestic had just come out. Things were pretty smooth. There was a little ruffling of the feathers, as I said to you earlier, Val, about the fact that Roger got a bigger percentage than Corey. Roger got 25%, Corey got 20%. Corey wasn't happy with that. And Corey had said to me, and for the next one, I want a bigger percentage than Roger. And I had said, well, you know, we'll negotiate that. So there was still some bickering, but things hadn't fallen apart yet.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So as far as this particular correspondence, what do you want me to address?
Okay, so that's perfect. Just laying the groundwork, and then the next one on the string starts in the Bates number ending in 97. Let's see. Oh, I guess I can.
Can you tell me which one that is, please?
I want anything 97. You're on it.
We just discussed this.
So you're asking him to look at 97 or a different page?
97, please.
Well, this was 97, what we just discussed.
Oh, it was? 97.
I've been working with Dr. Sella on the topics
Oh,
and
okay.
outline for the next document. Yeah,
So
that was 97.
Gotcha. Okay, so that one's from Corey in response to Rogers below. So Rogers is the original email starting on page 98, ending in Bates number 98. And he says, here are the two synopsis taglines I came up with.
Okay, so you're referring to the middle of 98.
Correct.
Email from Roger Richards, Corey Goode, February 16, 2:42 p.m.
Right, yep. And then he lays out a couple pretty short synopsis, a few lines. And then, you know, lays out who I guess the dream cast would be. And then in response to that, then now I'll go up to 97. It looks like it's Corey's response back to Roger, and says, thank you, Roger. I've been working with Dr. Sala on the topics and outline for the next documentary that will follow up above Majestic. And he talks about bringing in David to add his ideas to the outline. And he's saying, so Roger had suggested possibly doing away with the above Majestic name. Corey says if we keep the above Majestic name, you know, it will give us some more properties kind of.
Okay, I'm seeing the first one. Lyndon, can you help me with the next one? I don't see where Corey is responding.
Sure.
At the top of page 97, or like lower top of 97.
Here's your Corey's responding.
Okay, because we'd already discussed that.
We already talked about it, yeah.
Okay, what's happening here, Val, is we were out of sync because we had already discussed where Corey was saying, thank you, Roger. I've been working with Dr. Sala. You asked me about that already. But let me try and tie this whole thing together for you if I can.
Okay.
To me, and I'm just giving you my professional opinion. Can you take the letter down, please, so I can see it?
Videographer, take the
Oh,
Yep.
let's see.
Okay, now I can see everything. I'm just going to give you my professional opinion on this, Val.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Yes.
Okay. They're both jockeying for position here. Now, what I try to do when I'm working with creative people is let's get all the ideas on the table. And quite frankly, I really don't care whose idea it is. I'm looking for the best idea because if we're going to move ahead, we have to be successful. Also, this is a new company, so we need to have successes. So to me, it doesn't matter whether it's Corey's idea or Roger's idea, we need to have a good idea. Now, I would hope that we can take some from one, take some from the other. They're both creative people, and put together something that everybody would like. Many times we've had discussions in a conference call. And see, when you're dealing with creative people, now I'm a creative person, but I'm also, I've been trained so much as an executive too. So you got to control both sides of your brain, the creative side and then the business side. And okay, let's reel it in. So what I would have hoped for is a lot of good ideas came, and then we could put together different pieces from each person. Now, many times when we've had conferences, there would almost be an argument because creative people are very passionate. But from one person pushing one thing and another person pushing another thing, by the time the whole conversation was over, we'd come up with something completely better than either one of them had come up with the synergy. So that's what I always hope to do. So that's number one. Number two, when you're dealing with creative people, they're all over the place, as you see here. Corey has a lot of different ideas. Roger has a lot of different ideas. And it's too much. You become fragmented. So it's like, I don't want to pitch Netflix the TV series and the movie and then turn around and pitch to them the graphic novel and Blue Avian and everything else. They throw me out the room, Netflix. It would only confuse them. You come in with something that's good, you sell that, you convince them of that, and then later you can add on. And the biggest way to sell Netflix or anybody else at that time was, quite frankly, the merchandising was bigger and more important than the story. The merchandising is what got everybody excited. And I had a whole reel done just on the merchandising to compare it with Star Trek and Netflix and Star Wars, to show how much that merchandising had done and what this merchandising could do. Now, as far as Corey being involved in directing and producing, he deserved a shot at that. I wasn't sabotaging that. I wanted him to be able to learn. He deserved that. He wanted that. But I also explained to you that when we got into the time crunch, there was not time to do that specific thing of him working with Brandon. Now, in my mind, Val, if you have one success, you can go on to the next. So the first thing to me, always with this team, Val, was survival, okay? How are we going to get from month to month when the company doesn't have a lot of money? And especially in particular, Corey was always needing money. And I'm not knocking him when I say that. I'm just telling you the reality. So I was always scrambling for dollars. And I'm always thinking 3 months down the line. In other words, oh, it's going to be Christmas soon. What are the needs of the team? Oh, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. So it put a lot of pressure on me to just keep things, a momentum going. So in my mind, when I grabbed what Jim Martin offered, which I told you before, which was in a very limited time frame, we would do that, get the money, the $200,000, and the film would come out, be successful. Now I can make another deal, right? And in that other deal, now there's enough breathing room and enough cushion of money for Corey to work with Brandon. Take your time, because Brandon can't work as fast as Roger. Take your time and do this. But unfortunately, the train fell off the tracks before I was able to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, I want to move now to the client doc 3, which is one of the recordings. And this will be, well, it is the recording. And this will be plaintiff's exhibit 31.
Do we have that?
We're gonna play it.
What now?
The audio.
Oh, okay.
All right, Valerie, you should be able to take control and scrub to wherever you want on the video,
Oh, perfect. Okay.
the audio, not video.
this works. Here we go.
And then at Gaia, it started happening. I started having several different people saying, well, is David your manager? And I'd say, no. Well, he's managing he's managing everything. And I told him not to many times. So getting all of this stuff that I have built on my own and with his poo-pooing it the entire time, I don't see him just being able to sidestep onto all of this infrastructure that I've built up. And he's literally fought me on it much of the time. It's not like he was encouraging me, building me up, and he was talking me down. This has been a situation. And when I've confronted him about him talking me down to Gaia, he tells me, oh, well, Corey, you got to realize that I'm telling them what they want to hear so I can get intel, and I'm manipulating, and
I want to go back to something we were discussing earlier with the cease and desist that was sent to David and to Emery. And I believe your comments were that you produced that document yesterday to show the manipulation on the side of Mr. Goode. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it sounds like that's kind of standard for what's going on. It sounds like this was something that David was doing as well. Is that correct?
Who was that talking?
That was Corey.
That was Corey talking?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't recognize his voice. Okay, so what is your question to me, Val?
Sure. So it sounds like there was kind of a culture of trying to survive, and when Corey and David were both interacting with Gaia, I mean, that they were dealing with a little bit of manipulation themselves, and it's something that pretty much anybody does, right? If you're trying to survive, you're going to manipulate a situation.
Okay, so you're saying this was between Corey and David? They were both manipulating a little bit? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, so I am totally and wholeheartedly agreeing with you. So I touched on this a little bit before. To me, it was like I was the father figure and there were three sons, David, Corey, and Roger. All extremely talented, all very different, all very competitive. And it would be better for everybody to work together. Now, they were always falling out with each other, all the time. One of the things that Corey accused me of in this lawsuit was that I kept him and David apart. And I wrote back in my answers, that was absurd, that I would keep them apart. In other words, anybody that knows David Wilcox knows that you can't keep him from doing anything. When we made the STX deal, I had said to David, please don't correspond with the head of STX directly. Yes, you sat in on a meeting with them. Yes, they like you, but don't correspond with them directly because you could blow the deal. Tracy had a first look deal at STX. Are you familiar with first look deals, Val?
No.
Okay. A first look deal is when a production company thinks enough of you, they'll pay you a nice sum, salary, let you be on the lot with an office and so on and so forth, and a salary. And anything you as a producer are going to do, you come to them first. So they get the first look. And then if they pass on it, then you're free to take it somewhere else. So Tracy already had offices there, first look deal with STX. That's why we started with him first. And I was successful with David. I got him a pilot there. I got him where they were pitching a TV show for David because, as I said to you earlier, I wanted to take him more mainstream. And we were getting the big deal of the SVOD. Just don't communicate with these people. Let Tracy do it. But he wouldn't do it. And, That's a long story. I'll cut it short there. But we ended up not being able to have the STX deal because of certain communications from David to the head people. But at any rate, my point is that nobody can keep David from doing anything. So to say that I kept David and Corey apart, this is what Corey accused me of, is absurd. So half of that year, they were bickering. They weren't friendly with each other. This rivalry was going on. And then with Beth wanted David to have absolutely nothing to do with Corey. She blamed him for all their problems. They spent half of that summer trying to negotiate with Gaia to keep from being sued. Now, I sent you, Val, emails from Beth and emails from David's attorney, Rafi. David's attorney said, from the investigation I've done and from what I've gathered, David Wilcock, you need to stay as far away from Corey Goode as possible. Beth then said, the email I sent to you, I certainly concur. I blame him for all of our problems. Then I sent where David called me in a panic, saying to me, hey, Leon, you got to get me out of the DOD conference and you got to get me out of Cosmic Secret because both of them involve Corey Goode, and Beth has forbidden me to work with Corey Goode, and my marriage is more important than working with Corey Goode. Get me out of these projects. Now you might ask to me, well, why did he do the projects? Because I always tried to put a damper, Val, on the fires. And I said to David, cool out, David, and I can't get you out of these things. You already signed a contract for DOD. You already signed a contract for Cosmic Secret. We were just successful in getting to a point where you're not being sued by Gaia. Let's not open up any other avenues for a lawsuit. And if you want me to talk to Beth, I'll talk to her. That's the only way he still was involved. So I never tried. My point is that when Corey says I tried to keep them apart, that's absurd. And half the time, yes, you're right. They were bickering with one another, and then they'd make up. So yes, what you're talking about here was the bickering.
Okay. I'm going
Did I answer that enough for you?
yeah, and then some. But no, that was good. Okay.
The heights that you can attain. I already know what they are. And
Go back a little bit. And actually, let's, because it doesn't sound, so this, I'll represent to you, this was produced to us with y'all's initial disclosures, which was a long time ago. I'll just play it from the beginning, because do you recognize this call yet, or no?
Well, not yet. I only heard 2 words.
Okay, I'll play it from the
Okay.
beginning so you can hear,
Okay.
and then I'll skip.
All right. Thank you.
I won't make you sit through the whole hour of it.
Okay.
Would you taste this ketchup and the thing and I sauce?
I can hear you.
Excellent.
Hello.
Corey?
How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm much better now, thank you. But I'll tell you, Friday and Saturday was a bad trip. It was really like the room was spinning. I hadn't been that out of it in years.
Yeah, I when we were first started shooting Cosmic Disclosure, I got food poisoning in the middle of the shoot. We had to cancel the rest of the shoot. It was horrible. I've never been so ill.
Yeah, that's the way I felt, and it was embarrassing because I was out in public, and then people recognized me, and they're like, Mr. Kennedy, do you want us to call the paramedics? I was at the, and I said no. Just somebody help get me to my car. Maureen was with me, but I could barely walk.
Yeesh.
Crazy.
Well, at any rate, I'm feeling much better. I want to thank both.
Do you recall this call now? There wasn't a date on it
Yes.
or anything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it's making
Yeah,
that.
I had gotten food poisoning. That's what we were talking about.
Oh, that's awful. I've had that a couple times last year. It was really bad.
Well, you know what happened? It was Maureen's birthday, and I was all dressed up in a seersucker suit. I'm going to take her out to the Getty Museum for a nice birthday afternoon. And people that know me, they know I eat my way through everything. And so I'm eating this and eating that, and something got me, Val. And then we were sitting down to have the big meal, and the big meal came. I was so sick, the room was spinning. I couldn't even touch the big meal. Now, Maureen then knew something was wrong because I wasn't telling her how bad I was feeling because I didn't want to spoil the day for her. And then finally, I just said, I got to go. And then when I said I got to go and went to get up, I could barely walk out of that room. And that's when we went outside of the restaurant, and that's when I vomited in public. It was so embarrassing.
That's,
And that's when people recognized me. Hey, Mr. Kennedy, can we help you? And so on and so forth. And at the Getty, you got to get a tram to get to your car. They said, we'll send a special car for you to just take you directly to your car. Maureen took me home. I was in bed for a day and a half.
oh, no.
So anyway, that's that story.
Okay. Oh, that's awful. I can't. Yeah, it's a lot worse than you would think. Food poisoning. It sounds, not that bad, but it'll get you for sure. Okay. So was that in 2018 or 2019? We didn't.
Well, is there more to the conversation?
Yeah, I'm going to move forward. I'm just trying to get because it was produced to us with no identifying information on it.
Well, if I could hear more, then maybe I could pinpoint when it was.
Okay, perfect. Let me move.
The heights that you can attain.
He went and talked to his publisher and came back and said that the publishers wouldn't do something like that. And my publisher said that was just the craziest thing she ever heard. So that was, and then I asked him, I was like, dude, you realize you could have had part of this IP. He could have been part owners. And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want me that close to what he does. So that was something that that happened, I guess, 2 years ago, right before Roger came on.
Okay. Well, obviously, there's some hiccups here that people are going to grow through as they grow and become the stars that the two of you are becoming. And the reason I say becoming is because neither one of you have reached anywhere near the heights that you can attain. I already know what they are, and I'm here to help the whole team to obtain those heights because there's great potential here if we proceed positively and cautiously and don't make any major mistakes. So along the way, I guess there has been competition. I think that there has been growing pains because this is new for you. Quite frankly, it's new for David too. And I've told him, David, I'm going to make you very, very big, but you've got to listen. And there's growing pains here. People don't know how to receive. People don't know. They self-destruct along the way. I've seen it too many times, Roger, where, people can go to the next level, but there's something within people, it makes them self-destruct because they stay in that level that they're already at. It's a comfort zone, even though they're not happy with where they are. It's a thing that I see over and over and over. So, yes, I think there has been competition. I think that there have been a lot of mistakes. But the thing is now is how do we put this thing back on track? Now, I'm going to keep harping about this back in percentage for a moment, because as I said to Roger yesterday, Corey, if we're doing things independently and then coming together to do some major things, then there has to be certain precedents. The precedent of reciprocation. So, for example, in what you're giving or not giving to David for Above Majestic is going to set what the reciprocation would be as far as a precedent. For example, whatever you give David on this project, Above Majestic, which is clearly your project. I've said it from day one, you and Roger, it's your project. But when we have a project and we involve you, then the reciprocation should be the same. Now,
no, I agree with that. You know, if David comes, you know, to us with a project like this Ancient Aliens thing and all that, yeah, I mean, there's like, you know, huge percentage involved. But, you know, this is something that Roger's been honestly working on for 2 years. And, you know, this is mostly his baby. And, you know, I'm sorry. I appreciate everything David did for me to give me a start. And I wish he had worked more as a partner, as he promised he would along the way. But, you know, like I said, I have been dragging him kicking and screaming. I'm at the point now to where I need him to show me that he wants to work with me.
Okay, does that give a little bit more of a frame of reference?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. Okay, I remember that conversation very well. So do you want me to address that, or do you have a question about it?
Sure. So when do you recall this phone call happening?
Well, this was at the beginning of 2019, because this was the conversation to talk about David's percentages. Now, I have a lot to say on this. Number one, as far as the call being recorded, I basically knew that Corey always recorded most calls, and so did Roger. This is the same call that I talked about earlier, where Corey also said that David was arrogant and lazy and didn't deserve a percentage. That they may not have included that part in this, but that's the same conversation. Okay, so how do I address this? Number one, I said to you before, Val, that part of my spiritual compass was trying to do right by each person. And that's what I was doing here. So I wasn't always just helping Roger. In this situation, I'm trying to help David. But in many situations, I also tried to help Corey. And I don't know if Corey is still listening to this deposition, but I want to take a moment to go on record here to say, I told you before, I had a great love for Corey. I thought of him as a son. And initially, I thought that he was just misunderstood by a lot of people. And I wanted to help Corey. I wanted to help him grow. I saw his potential as far as being very, very big. He's very bright. He has great ideas. He has great instincts. And I truly saw big potential for him. Now, when someone wants to grow, that's what it means. You got to grow. But to grow, sometimes you got to be willing to adjust. Sometimes you've got to be willing to change. And that's why you bring in a life coach or a mentor. And many times, people don't like a life coach or a mentor because you're pushing them to a greater height. And to get there, they need to listen. Now, even though Corey is against me now. I brought many years of experience to this team. This team was raw. This team was brand new. They thought they were stars, but in the big scope, they were not stars. They were just getting recognized. But I did see the potential, and I knew that I could take them to much greater heights if they would let me. Now, earlier when I talked about people that I have been around, let's talk about Barry Gordy for a moment. I've known Barry Gordy since I was 15 years old. We're still friends. Last December, he got the Kennedy Center honorees, and he flew 26 people in so he could receive that prestigious award. I was one of the people that he flew in. But I've learned so much from being around a Barry Gordy. I was there when they did Lady Sings the Blues, and he was pushing Diana Ross into greatness. Diana would be in tears sometimes from the things that Barry said to her. But yet she was Academy Award nominated by the time Barry finished. I was in the studio as a kid disc jockey, 18 years old. I told you I worked in Detroit. When I was in Detroit, Val, all of Motown was still there. So I was friends with Stevie Wonder and the Temptations and Marvin Gaye and the Marvelettes and Martha and the Vandellas and Diana Ross. I was around these creative people when they'd even begin a song idea, take it all the way to the studio and see it become a song. But I always gravitate to power and knowledge. So I spent so much time with Barry because Barry was like a teacher and he was a mentor to me. And so he would say, this is why I did this. He made Diana do a standard once that she didn't want to do on the Ed Sullivan Show. You know, her thing was, why in the hell am I going to do a standard when I have hits? And Barry's thing was, I want you to do a standard so it reaches all these white people so that you can cross over more and I can put you in the Copacabana. That's why I want you to do it, Diana. So the man was brilliant. And Val, I learned so much from being around people like that. I'm still learning. I'm around LeBron's team and Kobe's team and so on and so forth, so that I can see what they're thinking about and what they're doing now, you know, in all the things that are happening in the digital world and so on and so forth, and NFTs and everything else that's going on. So I saw the potential, but in many cases, they didn't want to listen. And all the bickering, Val, it wore me out. I can show you something that I got going into the new year. And I got it from Corey saying, I hate to lay this on you, Leon, because we had such a productive meeting the other day. But, you know, Roger this, Roger that. The bickering, the infighting between David and Corey, and then the big feud and the business divorce with Roger, it wore me out. I should have been able to just concentrate on, okay, let me, if it's not Netflix, let me go to somebody else. If it's not going to be Antoine Fuqua for the A-list director, who else can I get? Instead of all this pulling on me for petty stuff that was just so unnecessary. And then back to this dream team, Corey had his great place. And what I used to say to Corey, even in the falling out with Cosmic Secret, where he demanded a director's title, even though he didn't do the work for being a director, really. I'm the one that gave him the credit for executive producer. I gave that to Corey and to Roger. That's a much more prestigious title than anything else, executive producer. And Corey was in such competition with Roger that he wanted another title, another title, another title. And I said, Corey, it's going to look like a clown show with your name all over the place. Let me just give you executive producer, and then if you're insisting on co-director, fine. But I go back to saying it hurt me. It hurt me that this team dissolved because everybody had their place and everybody was great. And I also wanted to just say this while we're on the record. I'm diverting for a second, but if Corey's watching, I did have true love for him. I did see his potential. I did want to work with him and help him. And I was not against Corey. I was just, in my own way, trying to show some spiritual lessons along the way. Like, okay, Corey, be bigger than them, or let this go, or let's move on because we got bigger things going on. So, Corey, I do want to say that to you. Even though I sided with other people from time to time, it was not against you personally. I was siding for whatever I thought was right. So thank you, Val, for letting me say that.
Okay, I'm gonna move this. Oh, I just want to go back to a couple of things that you said. You had mentioned that you saw, big potential with them, and that you saw yourself as a life coach and a mentor, and that and that's how you would bring them to the heights. Is that correct?
Yes.
And were you were talking about everybody included, right? Like not just Corey, but Corey and David.
Are we finished with this sound so I can have a full screen?
Oh, no, there's a couple more things we're going to listen to on there.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll just look at the small screen there. So you're asking me, did I see potential in everybody? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, did you see yourself as a life coach and a mentor to both Corey and David?
And also a handler, because they were making so many mistakes. I'll give you an example. When David and Corey were on stage at Dimensions of Disclosure, and Rachel Maddox from MSNBC had said something that David didn't like, he said, well, it doesn't matter what Rachel Maddox says. She's a lesbian and she works for a company that's satanically owned. Well, I was livid because when he got off stage, I said, David, if we had a deal, right now you'd have blown the deal. You can't call this woman a name. And MSNBC and NBC, all their stockholders, they're working for a company that's satanically owned. How do you think that makes them feel? And in this day and age, you can say one wrong thing, Val, and end an entire career, as you're very well aware of. So it was things like that. It was things like what Corey would say about people on social media. So yeah, they needed handlers. They needed someone to say, don't do this, don't do that, stay off social media, please. Let us get this deal done first. When you talk about, and this wasn't Corey, this was David, that Hillary Clinton drinks blood, and you're in a Hollywood, a democratically run community. These same people did fundraisers for Hillary. I'm trying to get a deal through these people, and then you say that their candidate drinks blood and drinks the blood of children. How in the heck am I going to get you a deal? You just blew the deal. So those are the frustrations that Leon went through. I could say much more, but I don't want to on the air now.
Okay. Okay. Let me go.
But you're asking me, did I see potential? I saw potential in each one of them because each one of them was different. David, brilliant in his own way. Corey, different, but great potential, and the IP was unlimited if it was handled correctly. Roger, very smart, very creative, and like I said, a workhorse. So it was a great synergy if the three of them could have stayed together. And I've said it before. It's heartbreaking to me because I saw the potential. And so to get that close and then for the whole thing to fall apart, it's very much heartbreaking. Plus, I had a love for all three of them. Like I said, they were like three sons. And, you know, within siblings, you have rivalries and bickering. You know, it goes with family territory. I just didn't think it would all fall apart like this.
Okay. We'll do a couple more.
That's number one. Number two, in his mind, he has tried to help you. He said 150,000. You said, oh, it's only 80,000. But at a time when you really need money, $80,000 tax-free is a nice piece of change.
Oh, it's not tax-free. Not tax-free.
Okay. Well, then you guys did it wrong if it's not tax-free, because all of your money coming in should be tax-free.
No, it came all through PayPal.
Pardon me?
It came all through PayPal.
I see. Okay. Well, anyway, whether it's tax-free or not, $80,000 when you really need some money is a nice gesture from anybody. Now, to me, sometimes people have to just say, okay, you know, I'm going to be the one to make the move here. I'm going to be the one to show justification. I'm going to be the one to show what I would call grace.
Well, Leon, you're talking about setting a precedence. If we give him 10, 20, 30% of a movie that he really didn't have anything to do with other than a 3-hour, few-hour shoot, then that sets a precedent for all future projects.
Well, not really. And not really. And the reason I'm saying not really is because you guys have some strict guidelines that you're ready to put down. And we are going to adhere to those guidelines. I'm going to be going over those guidelines with Roger. We're going to work them out. And those will be the guidelines for what David does with Team Corey Roger and what Corey does with our team. And I'm very fair, and I'm a team player. And going back to what Roger has said about friendship is sacred to me. When I was a teenager, if it weren't for my friends, I wouldn't have had any comfort level because my mother and father got divorced when I was 12.
You're preaching
so home was not a good place.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir there. It's just that David has not had that experience.
Okay, do you remember that part of that conversation?
I certainly do.
And it had been put out there a couple times that David had raised 150,000 for Corey, but it might be later on in this recording, but he kind of lays it out there. Do you remember talking through that with David at all?
Well, here's what I remember. One thing I had to laugh when I said, okay, so because Corey corrected me, it's 80,000. I said, okay, it's 80,000 tax-free dollars, and then Corey says, well, it's not tax-free. And I had to laugh, Al, because it's like if you're destitute and somebody gives you $80,000, darn it, let's be grateful here. You know, whether it's tax-free or not. That's what I mean by getting petty and being ungrateful. Now, David, even though he only did whatever, 3.5 hours or whatever, you got to look at the whole picture here. So the whole picture is the marketing. You can have, and it happens all the time, Val, you can have a great movie, you can have a great documentary, but if it doesn't get the right marketing, it's just either on the shelf or it comes out, it's a dud. What you really want is something that is successful. So in looking at the marketing push, David was the biggest name. And so David was worth 15% just for the marketing, if nothing else. It's the same thing going back to Cosmic Secret, where one was saying, well, Corey only did 5.5 hours worth of filming for Cosmic Secret. But it didn't really matter. I said it in one of the letters. Nobody begrudged the fact of paying him 16.5%, only because he only did 5.5 hours, because his name and his marketing warranted the 16.5%, if you're following me. So it's the same thing in David's case. So that's what we were talking about there. But I also want to say for the record, I understand Corey's frustration with David. Nobody understands it better than me. I had to hold David's hand and push David to do everything. At one point, he had a book deal, and he's way behind on the deadline, and I'm calling him every other day. David, did you write some pages? Da, 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 da. He went to Canada. He's supposed to write. I call him. What are you doing, David? Oh, I'm sitting up here playing the guitar. And I said, well, damn it, when are you going to write? Well, I don't feel like it. And then finally I said, Bill, why do I have to beg you to finish your own book? This is nonsensical. Why? When it came to the contract that we finally did, because of Corey's frustration and Roger's frustration, I baked it into the contract. David had to do X amount of big time interviews in a timely manner, or some of his money would be forfeited. I baked that into the contract. So I understand Corey's frustration. Once again, if you listen to this conversation, what Corey's saying, and you listen to what Leon's saying, it goes back to what I said to you earlier about, I try and be the life coach. I try and make everything work. I try and keep the team together. And one thing that I have learned to do over the years is look at a person's weaknesses and look at their strengths, somehow navigate around their weaknesses, use their strengths to have a success. That's what I try and do.
I do want to address the tax-free part though. Would it surprise you if I told you that Corey paid tens of thousands of dollars in taxes last year?
You're asking me would it surprise me?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know how much money he made, and I don't know how much money came in. We all have to pay taxes.
Right. Well, that my next question was going to be, how do you get that money in tax-free?
Well, I thought that he had a foundation, and that money was coming in through his foundation. That's why I said it was tax-free dollars. But if it didn't come in that way, I stand corrected.
Thought maybe there was.
You got to remember, at that point, Val, I was not working with Corey and Roger at that time. This was, if I was, it was the very beginning. But I think, I'm not really sure if we had just started working together or not. But it was very early in my stages of being around Corey and Roger.
Understood. Okay. Let's see. This might be.
And I think that, your and I's responsibility here, Leon, like I hear you trying to, make a bridge for a situation that is potentially going to fall apart, and, one person's going to go one way, one person's going to go the other. It's going to not support, the mission at whole. It's going to hurt it. I get where you're trying to build those bridges there, and that's kind of your and I's responsibility between the business sense of things. So I want to kind of talk about overall overall, the gesture of, offering David a percentage, what that would look like energetically for us. So from my perspective, if we were to offer David a percentage, it goes forward with the status quo of how things have been, where we just basically cater to David's sense of entitlement. That's not something that is conducive to building the brotherhood that David needs to break down his own ego distortions, heal all these places of insecurity in himself, and move forward in a place of as a star. I feel like those will be directly contributing to the status quo and the codependency in multiple ways that will do nothing but harm as he gets further in the spotlight. What I think the responsibility for you and I to do right now is to come up with a solution that addresses the spiritual, energetic, traumatic, karmic side of things in addition to the business relationship. So Corey has given me the authority to negotiate this business deal because I'm the person that has invested the most time and this has been my project. SBA funded it based off of an appropriated funds from an existing budget that we've been paying back with our own business ventures. But essentially, Corey said, go for it, Roger, and this is what I'm doing, and that's what entitles me to that negotiation space. If David, I do see that David has a lot of potential to contributing to this film in whole. I see that across the marketing potential. I see that across building unique, brand together moving forward. There's many, many positive ways of David. There's many positive things that will come from David being involved in this. But what I don't want to do anymore is move forward contributing to this dysfunctional energy that's throwing off the entirety of the group. And I know your purpose here, Leon, is to serve in that way. So what I would like from you is for you to look at the conversations that we've had with you today, Corey's personal experiences. You got to hear from his own voice, not from me and my interpretations, his own voice about his own experiences. Hear David's side of things and come back to us with a solution that is going to heal the group moving forward and change that dynamic that doesn't go on, that's happened in the past, completely destroys that and addresses the individual work that both of them have to do. Corey's got
so obviously that was Roger. Do you recognize his voice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it sounds like he kind of confirmed some of the stuff that you were saying earlier, that, he saw it as y'all's responsibility to kind of take the reins and usher things along, and kind of get everything to a good point. Does that sound about right? It sounds like things were going okay at this point.
Well, Val, my response to this is, if you're judging me, I think you're hearing consistency. In other words, I said I tried to hold the team together. I said that I, looked at the three of them as brothers, and I tried to overcome the rivalry. So what did Roger say here? He said, hey, Leon, I see that you're trying to be a bridge. You're trying to hold things together. Leon, you're trying to serve. That's my MO. That's what I always did with this team. Now, going beyond it a little bit, the final conclusion with this was that I had to go to Jim Martin, and I said to Jim, okay, Jim, you've got Jordan, you've got Corey. Roger didn't really have a big following, and you got David. Who's the most important? He said, David, as far as pushing this thing. I said, well, Jordan's getting 15%. They only want to give David 5%. If David gets only 5%, he's not going to be happy. He's not going to be motivated to go out and push this. You tell me, Jim, what major interviews you want David to do, put it in writing for me, and I will guarantee you that David does these interviews. If not, we will take it away from his money. So that's what we did, and I got David the 15% that he deserved. But now let me show you where Roger and Corey benefited. because I told you before, it doesn't matter if you have something good. If you don't market it correctly, then it's not getting out there, it's not generating. Because of David's major push, and it was David, there's no comparison between David's following and Corey's following and Jordan's following. We just have to look at the statistics. Because of David's push, the film did a lot of money. I was going to say over 500,000, but I don't know what it's done at this point. So Corey and Roger benefited from what I did. That's the way I have to look at things. If they had been stubborn and just gave David 5%, and David's not motivated to push it, they'd have made far less money. And if you don't have a hit, guess what? You don't have your second bite at the apple to do Cosmic Secret. So that's the way Leon looks at things.
Understood. And also when Roger at one point said, this has been funded through SBA, was SBA that's where the Above Cosmic was coming into, and then eventually it got changed, I think it was a year later, from SBA Media to SBA Entertainment. Is that correct?
Yes, but now let's talk about that because SBA Media and then the other companies that Corey had their own functions, which had nothing to do with SBA Entertainment. SBA Entertainment had nothing to do with the graphic novel or any of their previous business. I want to be real clear, Val. SBA Entertainment, LLC, the Delaware Corporation, was set up mainly to collect the funds from Above Majestic, not anything else, and then later Cosmic Secret. However, I just heard that too, where Roger said SBA funded Above Majestic, and Corey said, go for it, Roger. So maybe now this is where all this confusion has come in about the graphic novel funds and so on and so forth. Maybe that's what they're talking about by SBA Media funded it. Leon was not involved in that. Leon had nothing to do with it, but that sounds to me like that's where some of the money came from. Does it sound that way to you?
I mean, it sounds like everything got rolled into one, right? I mean, it started with SBA Media and then it turned to SBA Entertainment and then everything.
Yeah, but SBA Entertainment, yeah. But like I said, SBA Entertainment was set up only to collect the money that came in. But this whole thing about SBA Media funded Above Majestic, it seems to me that was something that Roger and Corey needed to work out because they were the only ones there. They knew what the agreement was. Nobody else did. I certainly didn't. It was way before my time.
So who made the decision to turn SBA Media into SBA Entertainment?
Well, I went over that before. SBA Media, I think, still existed. I think it's still existing now. But because David Wilcock was apprehensive about, will I ever get paid from Corey? Once again, you've seen this rivalry, you've seen this mistrust. So David is saying, well, wait a minute, I got screwed on the percentages. If you hadn't gone over Corey's head, Leon, I'd have been screwed. I told you, he cried about that. So he said, how are we going to make sure that I get paid and I get paid on time? And that's when we came back with the idea of setting up this neutral company to collect the funds, and everybody knew that they would get paid on time. That's why SBA Entertainment LLC was set up, the Delaware Corporation.
Okay. Thank you. And I think we're done with this. I'm not going to make you listen to any more of that. Okay. Can we take a 5-minute break or a 2-minute break? I just need to use the restroom really quick. I don't know how you guys are doing, but is that okay?
5 minutes is fine. So
Okay.
3:22.
3:22, perfect.
The time is 3:17. We are now off the record.
Okay.